Good morning, friends. Let's begin with a prayer. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswar, and our beloved Guru, Paramhansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, humbly we bow at thy feet. Divine Mother, open our hearts in faith and gratitude, that we may feel your grace, ever present, ever flowing, allowing the rivers and creeks of our longing, of our restlessness and desire, to flow ever forward toward oneness in the ocean of thy love. Om. Peace. Amen. The day before Thanksgiving, and of course the natural conversation to have today is to talk about the attitude of gratitude and the spirit of holding gratitude in our hearts and spiritualizing that quality in each one of us. And so we'll begin today with a chant, Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. The essence of gratitude flows from God's grace, God's presence in our heart. And when we feel that presence vibrating in our heart, we can act, we can speak, we can sing, we can move through the world in attunement with gratitude, with that quality of gratitude. So let's begin today by chanting and opening our hearts together. Open thou come? Just for once come to me. Wilt thou come? Wilt thou come? Just for once come to me. Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Night and day, I look for thee, night and day. Door of my heart, open wide, I keep for thee. Door of my heart, open wide, I keep for thee. Just a few days ago, Nayaswamis Jyotish and Devi, who are the spiritual directors of Ananda worldwide, sent out a Thanksgiving message, just a short 7-minute long video, speaking to the spirit of Thanksgiving and the essence of gratitude as a spiritual practice in each one of our lives. And as Nayaswami Jyotish was speaking, he talked about the correlation between the practice of gratitude and the expression of gratitude in our lives as spiritual speakers and as yogis on a spiritual path, and the presence of God's grace in our consciousness. And as he was speaking, he spoke to the fact that God's grace descends to us and it descends into the heart, or we raise our consciousness into God's grace and we experience it first in the heart, and that quality of love and expansion and openness that we feel at the heart chakra. And then from there, it can be expressed in any multitude in various ways, through our hands with our activity, through our voice with our singing, through conversations, through our thoughts and our compassion, and so many other examples and qualities that exist in that way. And I've been sitting with that for the last few days, just thinking about and trying to experience what that means for each one of us, that we raise our consciousness into God's grace and we experience it first in the heart. And from the heart, just like the heart, I was thinking about how the heart pumps blood out to the body, and it's pumping the blood in through hydrating and oxidizing, and I don't know, doing all the scientific things that it does in our bodies, and it pumps that blood throughout the body so that our bodies can continue to be strong and healthy. And when the heart is unhealthy, we feel it. We feel it in our bodies, we feel it in our mind with brain fog in so many different ways. And so the strength of that chakra, the strength of that muscle on a physical level, helps to drive all of what we do in the physical material world. And not only with our physical bodies and our movements, but also in our thoughts and our attitudes and our actions. As I said, when our heart is feeling weak, every other aspect of our life seems to be weakened in that way. And when we look at that as a spiritual quality and the essence of God's grace descending into the heart chakra, or being experienced in the heart chakra first and then permeating out through the heart chakra into whatever experience or whatever manifestation we find ourselves communicating through, or whatever channel of God's grace we feel and we experience in the world, it just comes back to that quality of gratitude and of experiencing gratitude, that when our heart is closed, when the blinds are shut and the heart is, and the windows are closed and the light can't shine through, when our heart is closed to God in that way, it's very difficult for us to experience gratitude. And we all, I'm sure, on one level or another, have experienced what that feeling of self-indulgence feels like when we're going through a difficult time physically with pain, or emotionally with pain or trauma or whatever it may be. In those moments when we feel the heart closing down, that experience of gratitude and that opportunity to offer compassion and gratitude out into the world, it also gets closed down. It gets shut when we shut the windows and close the curtains to God's light. It can't flow through us. And the same thing for our hearts. When our hearts are closed, we can't experience gratitude and share gratitude in the same way. But in essence, gratitude is such a foundational quality for us as spiritual seekers, because in having gratitude, in the practice of gratitude, we're letting go of our own ego consciousness. We are acknowledging the giver behind all gifts. This is the affirmations in Affirmations for Self-Healing on the week of gratitude. It begins, we thank you, we thank the giver behind all gifts. And when we are not in a state of practicing gratitude, we can forget that reality that God is the doer behind all things, that God's presence is permeated into every individual atom and cell of the universe, and that nothing is ever happening outside of God's grace and outside of that connection with the divine. And we get stuck in the ego. And I know personally I felt that. I was just talking with a friend the other day about a situation and feeling my own sort of self-indulgence in that, and how quickly I found myself just closed out to the experiences of others, empathy, compassion, forgiveness, joy, all of these qualities that are rooted in a practice of forgiveness, or that are rooted in a practice of gratitude. Because when we are flowing with God's grace, and when we are participating in this world and in all of the circumstances and all of the activities and all of the things that we have, that we collect along the way, when we gather each of them up into our basket and we hold that basket out saying, this is a gift from my divine mother. It's not something that I created by my own power. It's not something that I own or I hold or I maintain. And I get to keep for myself. But when we flow with everything that Divine Mother gives us in that state of gratitude, then we're able to feel the flexibility of divine grace. We're able to walk through the world with greater faith and with greater courage to face whatever challenges or tests may come our way. We just finished a book study on Sister Gyanamata's book of letters and diary entries. And in the end, there's a list of meditations. And one of my favorite meditations that comes up at the end of this book, it's very short, it's just 2 sentences long. She asks us to meditate on the question, would you like to feel his hands take yours and hold it? Then drop your earthly treasures. I love this meditation because it feels so simple in essence. Do we want, God is reaching down his hand to us and he's saying, here, take my hand, hold my hand. And she's asking us the question, do we want to reach up and take hold of God's hand and hold on to it and grasp onto it firmly? If so, then we have to let go of whatever treasures we've collected along the way that are our earthly treasures. We have to let go of that identity that anything on the material plane is going to bring me lasting happiness. We have to let go of the fact that anything on the material plane, experience, partnership, friendship, material possession, of course, it's not ours to own and to possess, but everything is coming from God, that everything is a gift from the Divine Mother. I give thanks to the giver behind all gifts. And when we get out of that mindset, and when we get out of that trap of feeling like we need to possess or own any of the things that we have in our life, then we're free to reach up and to take hold of God's hand. And it's such a perfect image, because when we think about that reality, you know, it's so easy to sit down and to say, oh, I just want to be in communion with the divine. I just want to feel God's presence in my life, and then to blame it on some exterior circumstance, why we're not feeling that presence, why we can't reach up and take hold of God's hand. But if we just look, I'm just grabbing the closest thing I have, I can't hold on to God's hand when I'm grasping onto my phone. And it doesn't have to be a phone, a material possession. As I said, it can be a partner that we love in our life. It can be a self-identity that we're holding, something that we're holding on to about the person that we are, the experiences we get to have in our life. Maybe I'm someone who says, I'm an athlete. I like to climb mountains and go on long runs and use my body and be very active. And then one day there's an accident or an injury, and that's taken away from us. If we hold on to that and grasp to that self-identity in a way that allows us to miss Divine Mother's love, to miss God's grace, then we miss that opportunity to open our hearts. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. This is the chant Paramahansa Yogananda recommended, that we wake up every day and this be the first thought, the first chant that comes into our mind, and that we sing it upon waking up in the morning. I used to play it as my alarm clock when I had a different alarm clock where I could choose a song to be the sound, and it would be the first thing that I would wake up to every morning because I wanted to practice that. And why is that? What is the essence of this chant? Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Wilt thou come just for once? Come to me. Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? When we open our hearts in that state of longing, and we always keep the door open when we hold the cup up to Divine Mother, asking her to pour in the sweet milk and honey of her love, then Divine Mother is there. Whenever that opportunity comes, if we pour and our cup is turned over, or we've cast it to the side, or we're grasping onto something else that we want, then we're not there and we're not prepared to feel the blessing of Divine Mother's love. So our heart always needs to be open. And this is something that I learned from reading Sister Gyanamata's book over and over again. What a beautiful saint she is. And her consciousness just permeates with gratitude for Divine Mother. And her life was not simple. Her life was filled with great tests and great challenges, mostly physical tests in her life. But that presence of gratitude and that opportunity, that presence of humility, it was visible in every interaction and in every moment of the letters that she writes, and the meditations and the reflections that she shares in her book, God Alone. And one of the comments that I realized as I was reading through this book is that she never missed an opportunity for Divine Mother's love, which again is the essence of opening our heart to that gratitude. The heart is where God's grace descends and where we practice gratitude. And when we're open in a state of waiting for and yearning for Divine Mother's love, of never taking a moment of Divine Mother's love for granted, then we get the gift of feeling her presence. Then we get the gift of feeling God's presence in our lives. And Sister Gyanamata was blessed with so many opportunities for deep attunement and connection with the Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, and in deep connection and attunement with God. But there was never a moment where she took that for granted or she took it lightly. She always expressed her gratitude and her unending willingness to continue seeking the divine in her life. And I had this experience. I was sharing this with my book study group when we were talking about this chapter, of just the ways that if we're not open and we're not looking for those moments, that they can just pass us by in just a moment. And a few weeks ago now, I was meditating in the morning and just praying to Divine Mother and asking to feel her love and her presence in my life. And just, as the sweet little, those sweet heart yearnings call out for, I was just saying, Divine Mother, show me, give me a symbol, give me a sign of your love today. And I opened my door a few hours later when I was heading out to run some errands. And there was a little jeweled, maybe half an inch tall, so a little tiny jeweled heart sitting on the railing just in front of my door. The railing for the deck. And I looked at it and I thought, oh, sweet. And then I sort of just wrote it off at first thought. The first thought that went through my mind was, oh, that's sweet, but it must just be trash. Maybe some little kid left it here, or, maybe it fell off of some project that we have a lot of kindergarten and elementary school teachers that live on in the apartment complex that I live in. And so I thought maybe it just fell off of a project or something like that. And I was so quick to just write it off. And that was the first thought. And then I looked at it again, and it was just placed so perfectly in front of my door, just right there, centered as if it were waiting for me. And I thought, this is exactly what I had just asked for. I had just spent time in my morning meditation saying to Divine Mother, give me a symbol of your love. Let me just feel it. Let me see it tangibly in my life today. And here was this heart waiting for me right outside the door. And so I left it there, and I left it there for the rest of the week. And every morning when I would open my door, it was still there, and I would see it. And I didn't know if someone had placed it there, or if it had in fact fallen off of some child's or some young student's art project for one of the teachers that was living in my apartment complex or not. But it didn't matter, because it was a gift from Divine Mother. And every morning when I opened the door, or every time I went in and out of the door, the front door, it was there, and it was greeting me, and it didn't move. And through, the wind and the rain and whatever else comes in the blustery Northern Californian November months, it stayed. It was there, and it gave me a sweet, beautiful little smile and a treat every time I opened the door. And so I was telling a group of my Guru Bhais, my peers, this story, to express that point, to make the point that Sister Gyanamata is somebody who never missed an opportunity to feel Divine Mother's love, and she never took it for granted. And I was telling the story to express that point, that I almost missed it. I almost missed that opportunity. My heart wasn't quite open to it at first, and I almost let it go by. And in the group that I was with, there was one of our other group mates was there, and he just got quiet for a minute, and he said, this is so interesting, because in my meditation that morning, I felt like I wanted to leave you a blessing when I was walking past your door, and I put this little heart there. And it was just such a sweet moment, because of all the people whom I could be telling this story to, here was the person who had done it, and I had no idea. And I was just telling the story for a completely different reason. And it gave us such a beautiful moment that then took that one step deeper, because there was then that opportunity not only just to express gratitude to Divine Mother for her love, but to express gratitude to the channel through which Divine Mother could enact her love, could show her love. Because here was my friend, my Guru Bhai, who had the intuition, whose heart was open enough to feel that and have the intuition and the inspiration to leave a little Divine Mother blessing outside of my door, which just changed my whole week in the midst of, asking for that prayer and having that prayer. And I share this story because these are the examples of Divine Mother's love in our lives when we are flowing in that state of gratitude, when we're able to express gratitude for everything that Divine Mother brings to us, and we're looking for her love everywhere that we go, because those signs are always present. Divine Mother is always showering us with her grace and with her love, and it's our opportunity to raise our energy up into that consciousness, to be aware of her presence, to be aware of her love, and to experience it. And one of the ways that we can practice this is through the practice of gratitude, because when we're opening our heart and offering ourselves out to other people, when we're getting outside of our own ego consciousness, which keeps us blocked up and locked down and keeps the heart closed, then we miss those opportunities, like I almost did. Like I almost missed that opportunity. And then all of this expression of gratitude and love, it wouldn't have enacted the same way. And, the larger scale of my life wouldn't have gone any differently, but my connection to the divine, my opportunity to open my heart, to share God's love, to feel God's love, to be the recipient and also the sharer, the one who can offer God's love. I would have missed that opportunity. And no matter what else I do in my life, whatever jobs I professionally I go to, whatever tasks we do in our lives, whether again it's our job, our family, all of these things are vastly important, and they're our karma, and they come to us because we have lessons to learn through them. But the moments that matter the most are the moments when we can feel Divine Mother's presence, when we can be a channel of Divine Mother, either in receiving or in offering her love to each one of us, which is exactly what Sister Gyanamata is saying to us in this meditation. Do you want to feel God's love? Do you want to reach up your hand and take hold of God's hand, who's always offering that hand out to us, who's always saying, walk beside me? If so, then let go of your earthly treasures. Let go of the identities, the needs, the conditions, everything that we think is going to stabilize our happiness, that's going to guarantee our happiness here on this material plane. We're never going to be able to get it just right here without Divine Mother's grace. So what we do is we move through the world with a heart wide open, feeling such gratitude for the giver behind all gifts. I was just thinking of, I'll end with this. Swami Kriyananda has a song, many songs that he has sung either dedicated to or expressing the vibration of St. Francis of Assisi, with whom Paramahansa Yogananda had a wonderful connection and felt such a relationship with. And one of his, in one of the songs that he writes is, Father, now that I wander with thee, flowers and fields are alive with thy joy, all of my merriments. I'm losing some of the words, but it ends, in my heart I am free. And it's just this expression. The word gratitude is never used once, but the essence and the vibration of the experience in that song is just gratitude. Father, now that I wander with me, the flowers and fields are alive with thy joy, the birds are singing, in my heart I am free. This is what each one of us is ultimately seeking. And the practice of gratitude, wherever we're standing in our own consciousness, it's an applied practice. It's a remembrance until we get to that point, much like St. Francis demonstrates for us through the vibration of this song, and certainly through his life demonstrated for us, when we just live in gratitude, where it's no longer a practice, but it's just the very state of our consciousness, because we are accepting and loving of the root of that affirmation. I give thanks to the giver behind all gifts. Everything that is joyful in our life, everything that is a challenge in our life comes from Divine Mother, and we live in that knowing, in that state of heart wide opened and accepting of whatever it is that comes to us in life. We experience it in the heart, and from the heart, just like it pumps blood throughout the body, it pumps the energy that we need, the willingness that we need to act, to serve, to sing, to pray, whatever it is that we're doing in our lives, to show our devotion to and our gratitude for the divine. And so that's what we get to hold, each one of us. We get to reach up our hands, let go of all that we think is going to bring us happiness, and instead be grateful for the sunsets, be grateful for the sunrise, be grateful for the birds and the flowers, be grateful for each moment that we get to feel Divine Mother's love. And that's our choice. It's not Divine Mother who's picking and choosing when she reveals herself. She's always present for us. So that opportunity to live in that state that is wide open, with the heart wide open, it's ours to choose. It's ours to be grateful for. And it's our gift. What else could we be more grateful for than Divine Mother's love? So I wish you all a blessed Thanksgiving, a season of giving, a season of compassion and joy, and a season of deep communion with the divine.